Hello and welcome to the Avrum Rosensweig Show.
Welcome to one of the internet's best podcasts, where we dive deep into the lives of the extraordinary and fascinating people who leave an indelible mark on our world. Join us as we explore their captivating stories, remarkable achievements, and unique perspectives that shape history and inspire generations. Get ready to embark on a journey through the lives of inspiring people unlike any other.
Hello and thank you for joining me. I'm Avrum Rosensweig, and again, this is the Avrum Rosensweig Show. The objective of the show is to honor humankind and to do so through very inspirational interviews. Now, I've been thinking lately that it's fascinating how the extent of our lives is often a few blocks wide or long. If we're lucky, maybe it's an entire city, maybe a province. But the truth of the matter is our reality in life is such that we know those who are very close to us. And I find that the older I get, the closer I stay at home. And by that, I mean metaphorically that I'm in touch with a select group of people. Now, that's a beautiful thing, and we create our own villages and we glean from it. But on the other hand, we are also very aware of the fact that throughout the world, there are thousands, if not millions, of such enclaves. And they may be in Portugal, or they may be in Poland or in Ecuador. How often do we get a chance to be part of those worlds and to learn from them, their culture, their way, their understanding, their overview of life? Not very often, unless you are a regular traveler or perhaps you do a podcast. Now, I'm in touch with someone right now who lives in Uganda, and we are working to get a podcast together. He's the head of the Jewish community of Uganda. We have some technological challenges, as happens in such places. But what I am excited about is learning from that man and having a better understanding of his culture, his world, his reality. And I want to extend that. Today, my guest is a dear old friend. His name is Shabir Hussein. Shabir, how are you?
Good. Thank you, Avrum. It's so lovely seeing you after so many years, man.
It's lovely seeing you. And, there's a saying in Hebrew, schar halecha, that the longer the walk, the bigger the payoff.
Oh, good. I believe in that. I believe in that principle too.
Right, exactly. And we had a bit of a challenge getting this podcast together. Again, technology will do that sometimes, but you have to be patient and you have to roll with it. Now, let me tell you who Shabir is vis-a-vis me. Shabir, as I said, is a very old friend. When I started up via HAVTA, the Canadian Jewish Humanitarian and Relief Committee, we decided that we would do work locally in Toronto, in Ontario, to help the homeless and the impoverished. And we also had another department, and that was the international department. The international department mission statement was to travel around the world and to actualize the idea of never again. That if there were be other nations, other people who could use our expertise, the Jewish people, then we were prepared to help where we could. Now, one of those places that we ventured out to was Guyana, South America. And we had that department, which was basically a medical department, was headed by Dr. Michael Silverman. And Michael introduced us to a man by the name of Dr. Roy Russell. And Roy had been working in Guyana for a number of years, and he introduced us to the country. And we started to send medical missions there. But you can't do good work unless you have excellent contacts on the ground. Shabir Hussein is that excellent contact. And Shabir, first thing I want to do is thank you for all of our work together, all of our successes, and the changes that you made. It was just magnificent and great to work with you all those years.
Avrum, you're more than welcome. I found pleasure in doing it. It was a real great experience for me. And, the objective was to help the less fortunate and to ensure that people are given better health, better lives in the various community, especially in the rural community. And, people like Dr. Roy Rosell and Dr. Michael Silverman, who were the pioneers of this medical program in Guyana, through the Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization was the key people that actually I sense that they had a very clear and clean heart.
Yes.
And when you're working with people from overseas, especially people who you're seeing for the first time, you look for honesty and integrity in those in persons that are coming to give help to Guyana. And that's the first thing I found in those gentlemen. They were so sincere in what they were doing, and it was a great pleasure working with them. And I have no regrets whatsoever. I'm going to do it again anytime. Unfortunately, Dr. Rosel is no longer. But
He's not.
Dr. Mike Roman and myself, we keep in touch all the time.
Yeah, Michael is an amazing human being. We'll talk about him throughout the show because he does indeed deserve many, many accolades. Many.
Yeah.
Now, you are a businessman. You work with banks, which is a company that makes rums. Very interesting. You're Muslim, so you've never tasted the company's product, right?
Unfortunately, I never touched it. Never touched alcohol in my life. Never.
How do you know if it's good or not?
Well, you listen to people and you go by the majority.
Right. Yeah. But is it at all a problem that you've never tasted the product?
Because of my religious reasons, and not only that, only yesterday I was in a squibble and I was talking about how preparing youths for the future because the youth of today are the tomorrow's future. So, and I was saying to them my life history and what I came from, and I told them that I came from poverty. I didn't have food to eat some days. I used friend clothing to get to school because I had one objective in my mind, and that was to be the best engineer you can find in this country.
Mhm.
And thank God, after hard work and dedication, and through the support of my grandparents and my parent, I was able to achieve my goals. And today, as you know, where I am, what I do, and what I've been doing all the time. So thank God for that. I mean, I went through all the struggles, and coming from those kinds of situations, it made me stronger. And it all happened because my father, he consumed a lot of alcohol, and every cent was done in that area. And I promised myself, like my other siblings, that here we will not go close to it, keep far from it because you don't know what is going to happen. And even to our company, we manufacture alcohol, we sell alcohol, but there's a note on that container that says drink responsibly.
Mhm.
Very few people have that kind of a behavior so as to act in a responsible manner when alcohol gets to their mind. So if you can't, stay away.
What was your father's name?
He was Mohammed Shakir Hussein.
What was he like?
Well, very nice man. He was very supportive of his family, but unfortunately, his alcohol behavior wasn't nice. But I'll tell you this: when he stopped drinking alcohol, we were living like kings and queens in our house
Yeah.
because he did everything. He could have afforded everything because money was not being wasted any longer. So we were able to assess the situation from when he was and when he stopped. And that was a marvelous change in his entire life where we benefited. Yeah, you can imagine my mother, my father, and my brothers and sisters. We are seven, eight of us, sorry. And we live in a two-bedroom home. You can imagine that. But we made life very comfortable. We went ahead, we went to school, we got education, which was our top priority in life to ensure, okay, we could be people of society and counted in society. Thank God, I mean, everything that comes through life is through the help of Almighty God, and I'm so happy, And maybe some of the blessings that I would have gotten from people like Dr. Mike Silverman and Dr. Roy Rosell, where I joined them in doing good because that's what my religion tells me to do good all the time, And I was granted the opportunity by those gentlemen to do good in my community. It was not easy. This is very challenging to get these things done. I remember, let me give an example. I went to collect my team. I say my team because Dr. Mike Silverman and my team coming in. And I did not have a particular document from the Ministry of Health to clear them at the airport.
Yes, I
And
remember.
that's you can remember that story. I broke down to tears. I said, I could have been at my home sleeping. Tonight it's now midnight, and I can't get these people out of here. I'm trying to do something for my country,
Yes.
And that wasn't easy. So uh, there are so many different stories that I can tell you, Avram. I've told you some already before, but there's so many different stories for the different organizations that I've started, that I worked with from Canada and other countries.
Shabir, if I remember correctly, some of these stories were very quirky and very local to Guyana. Guyana is a country where we say there's about 700,000 people, could be more, could be less. It is growing now because of the prosperity that has come to you through oil. But if I remember correctly, this story, or perhaps another story, was you couldn't get the proper certification. It hadn't come through. So you had to go to a man's house who lived in a village nearby, knock on his door. Is there something to what I'm saying?
Yes. Uh, Fortunately, I had telephone with me, so I was able to call the gentleman right away. I said, "Look, I mean, we're stuck at the airport, and I'm not getting through. We have to get. We plan to go tomorrow morning to Escobar to do some medical program." And by communicating with him, he was able to call authorities at the airport to say, "Look, please allow them in, and we shall go into the documentation tomorrow when he comes back to the Ministry of Health, because uh, everyone in the ministry knows me very well. I mean, and I gave them my concerns of not allowing them to go, and at the same time made a commitment. So look, I'm going to be back in the Ministry of Health tomorrow, and we were allowed through the airport, and fortunately they went and they did their program.
Yes, and that was one of the many, many medical missions that we did. We did it probably in excess of 30 in
Yes,
Guyana, and
yes.
we mostly worked in the Bartica region, which I think is Region 7.
Region 7.
Region 7. But after a number of years, we started to branch out and work more so in the rainforest and other such areas. I just want to take a step back because I want my viewers, my listeners, to have a really good sense of who you are. We talked about your father a little bit. What was your mother's name? What was she like?
Zahora, and she was very calm, very, very wonderful woman. Unfortunately, she passed last June, right in Canada. She was living alone in Canada.
I'm sorry to hear.
And she passed, and she was a woman that was, I mean, taking care of her children, regardless of what the challenges were. Fantastic woman. She was also from a very poor family background. As you know, our four parents came from the indentured laborship out of India, and that's where my four parents started. And so, but we were very successful in the end. You know, we came out successful because it's all that we were taught: be honest, be disciplined, work hard, be dedicated, be respectful to people, and those are the values that actually brought us through success in society.
Do you remember what it was like to be poor?
Yes, I remember what it was like to be poor vividly, and I spoke about it only yesterday. I ate salt and rice to exist. We didn't have, and I said to my the best meal we would have had was on a Sunday morning, and my mother would cook dal and roti.
Mhm.
Dal and roti, no meat because there's no protein there, but dal is enough protein. And she used to come around and say, "Hey, you guys must choke that dal." You know what they mean by choking? It's a
Mhm.
Guyanese language. Take a little bit only in your roti and eat it so that you don't run out of that dal. That's a breast meal. But and then I remember borrowing friends' shoes to go to school. I remember wearing rubber slipper is a slip-on, and if someone is to mash the back of that, it's busted. I remember coming to school in Georgetown, and I was going to technical school, and that slipper, one of the guys mashed my slipper, it busted. I didn't have a replacement, so I put it in my bag till I get to school. When I got to school, I got wire and I stitched it up. Man, it Avram, it was really really difficult with those days. I remember it vividly. I remember we didn't have I couldn't afford to take lunch, you know, and
Mhm.
my grandmother in those days gave me a 25 cents, and then I'll go in Georgetown and there's a spot. I will buy a buns and eat it. But there's some friends who were very kind to me, coming from our same village. We'll travel with the train and the ferry to go to school, and they will usually, if they bring food, they will usually help me, you know, and give me some food to eat. So I remember those days vividly. Those things made you strong. I would not forget those days at all because, and I would not blame anyone. I mean, these are challenges that everyone faced in life. Some people had it very good. And I've known of people who really had it very good, everything like gold spoon in their mouth, and then never became a success in life.
So let me ask you this. I mean, today, as I said before, you're the director of Citizens Bank. You're the director in engineering services for banks.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on. Director of Power and Light in Guyana, Canadian Guyana Chamber of Commerce president, and you're the honorary consul of the Kingdom of Sweden to the Republic of Guyana. Like, you're doing some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
In your head, Shabir, you've obviously grown immensely and you're quite successful. Is that poor kid still in your head at all?
Yes, it is good to remember sometimes where you come from. Never forget where you come from. Always, I'll tell anyone who is going to be viewing this program, you must always have that in the back of your head. Because you know what happens? If you don't do that and you don't remember where you came from, you're going to destroy your future. You're not going to be able to, you must always mark where you come from and understand that where you come from, you must ensure that other people that you're dealing with, like for example, I'm managing in excess of 150 persons. I must understand them so that I must be able to give them an opportunity in life. I must be able to give them support. I must be able to educate them. Hence the reason why I devote a lot of my time, um, sometimes from the office, and I do educational program, technical training, engineering training in the afternoon, from 4 to 5 in the afternoon. Or sometimes some of them will make the lunch break, and I go and I teach these students. And the reward that I get by doing that is um, you're able to increase your skills in the department. One, two. Um, if they don't, because many leave. For example, only last year we completed a training program of 25, and just about 5 days after, you lost 7 of them. So they've gone. But you know something? We never stopped doing it in the company. I've always dedicated myself to that because what eventually happened, they're going to other parts of the country and working, some of them for the oil and gas sector. But in other areas that they go to, the country is benefiting, even though I might not be getting the reward. But that's part of my reward, you know.
The country got its independence in 1966.
26th of May, 2066.
Yes.
1966,
And
yeah.
early on, one of the individuals who was responsible for governing the country was Jetty Jagan.
Yeah.
Jetty Jagan was one of the first president, I think, of Guyana. Now, he passed away from a heart attack, but he was married to a Jewish
To
woman,
a Jewish woman, yeah.
Janet
Yeah.
Jagan.
Yeah,
And,
Janet Jagan, yes.
and I must tell you, she came to Toronto to visit her family, as well as the very large Guyanese community here in Toronto and Ontario. And we decided that we were going to make a Shabbat, a Sabbath meal for her. And she was from Chicago originally.
Yes.
And she was really quite touched by the whole thing. And she said she couldn't remember the last Shabbat dinner or meal that she had been invited to. But I was so fascinated as a sort of a neophyte, a new, founder of an organization, to have a head of state to come and to honor us, and we had the ability to honor her. She was a lovely, lovely human being. Did
yeah.
you know Janet Jagan?
Yes, as a matter of fact, with the help of the Canadian government, I had rebuilt the Leonora Cottage Hospital. And at that time, she was then the Minister of Health. And I invited her to come and reopen that hospital. As you know, Leonora Cottage Hospital is one of the areas that the Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization, we started some work there. And
Yes.
my first daughter was born at that hospital. So there's a lot of sentimental value for that hospital. So when the hospital was falling to pieces, I said, look, I'm going to do something. And the Canadian government, through the Canadian International Funding Agency in Guyana, I had to do the necessary paperwork and was able to get some funding to rebuild that hospital. It was a really fantastic project. So I had dealings with her a lot.
You're married. Your wife is Barbara, also a lovely woman whom we spent time with. You have 3 kids. Are they involved in what we would call tikkun olam, which is repairing the world? Is that part of their lives as well?
Yes, they're very religious people there, and they do it through their church. I should tell you the story. I don't think you know. Barbara's Christian. I'm Muslim, and my kids are all Christians, and they do a lot of charitable work through through the home, through the homes in through the churches to the homes in Canada. They will usually go out at least once or twice a week, and they go to some of these homes downtown. I guess you will know them very well, and they take clothing, they will take food, and in addition to that, they will usually have uh, a revolving of their wardrobes by ensuring that some of the very good stuff that they have goes into those people. There's a group that, from Canada, I don't know the name of that group, that comes around and picks up these things, and they take it towards the different areas where people do not have anything to wear, and they provide that help. So my wife and my kids are very supportive in that area.
Was it a problem when you first met Barbara, she being Christian, you being Muslim?
Like I think I told you some of these stories. You're remembering? Yes, I did. My my father and my mom. Well, my not my mom so much. My father didn't agree. She said, "Listen to me. No, that is not going to happen. Not going to happen." So he arranged for a young lady, a Muslim young lady, for one of his friends' daughters, and he brought. He said to me, he said, "You got to marry this girl." He said, "I'm going to take you to see this girl. And when I get there, you must say yes." I
So
told you
what
that
happened?
story
What
once.
happened?
And when I heard there, I said yes. But then I wrote the girl a letter. I said, "Listen to me. I don't want you to have any problems in your lives. And let me tell you, I do not like you. I will not marry you." And as
Hmm.
such, that was a plan with my father. And so my myself and my wife, we went to the registry in Guyana. You can go to GPO building. If you remember that building, you go upstairs, you can get married by the registrar there. We got married there. And after you couldn't go back home at that time. So we had to look for a flat, an apartment we had to go into. And there was no bed, there was no stove, nothing to cook on. But there was a friend who helped me, and we got a bed, and we got one burner. We call it kerosene stove in those days,
Yeah.
boy. And we managed to make life. But my father heard of it, man. The next day, one truckload of furniture came to the house.
Really?
Yes, I'm telling you, the, to the house, and he came with everything, all the utensils, whatever it is to cook, and everything for me to sleep on, furnishing the house and everything. And then he sent for me and he said, "Come on, you have to now marry in Muslim rites." And I
Oh,
went, "Oh yeah, what a very fantastic!" And up to this, before my father died, and up to this day, my wife is a queen for them. My mom and my dad.
ah, lovely,
Yeah, yeah.
lovely.
What a
Did you
transformation!
do you like Christmas?
Oh yeah,
You do
I
like
do.
so do I as a Jew. Me too.
Yeah, but in Guyana, we are a multi-racial, multicultural,
Yes, you are.
multi-religious sector. So what we do, I celebrate Eid, like today's Eid in Guyana, Eid al-Adha, and then so my friends participate too. And then you have um, Pagwa or Diwali, which is Hindu festival. Okay, we'll not go the full length of it, but we participate because the Guyanese society. Christmas, everybody, Muslim, Hindus, Christian, everybody participates in
Hmm.
Christmas. As how it is. Yeah.
That's very beautiful, and it's quite frankly, I wish the so much of the rest of the world was that way
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
can learn so much from one another. Let's talk a little bit about Guyana. Guyana is it's the land of 1,000 people, and it's the land of 1,000 rivers. It's a stunningly gorgeous country, again with beautiful vegetation, very lush, um, and it is very multicultural, as you said. Um, when we were working there, Guyana was considered to be the poorest nation in the Western Hemisphere after Haiti. Now, the good news is that today, after finding something like 11 billion barrels of oil, The GDP has risen dramatically. There are hotels, 9 hotels that are currently being built. And thank God, the people of Guyana are beginning to prosper in a way that they've never known before. You must have such an incredible love for your country because of, being born there, growing up there, and seeing this evolution, which is a most positive one.
Yes, it's a great feeling to know that okay, I was here and I saw when Guyana was in a depressed state, and I'm here now to experience the very booming economic state. And it's a real pleasure, and I'm also happy that I stayed. Like I was saying to some of my former employees, that look, you guys ran, I stayed, I fought the battle, and today, of course, I must say that I'm working with it. I can proudly say I'm working with the best company in Guyana, Banks DIS Limited. And of course, Banks DIS Limited is the owner of Citizen Bank Guyana Inc., and we have another subsidiary, Banks Automotive Services Inc. Now, because of those companies being successful, I am contributing indirectly or directly to the country's uh, development program, because because of of our business, we contribute so much in terms of taxes to the country, billions of dollars of taxes we pay annually. So that by itself is a contribution towards economic growth and development in Guyana.
Mhm, mhm.
But by me participating in my company, I am contributing towards the development of the country. So I'm very proud to know that I'm associated. While a lot of our Guyanese brothers and sisters would have migrated and gone, I know many of them would have had challenges too. Might not have had the opportunity to work with such a beautiful company that I work with. But I stayed on. I fought the battle, and I'm glad that I'm here. And I made sacrifices because my kids wanted to migrate, so they migrated with my family. And so I have to make the sacrifice, and I make time to go and see them. Make time for my family to come and see me here. But it's not easy. It's costly, but you know something? Thank God for technology. I'm able to speak to my wife and kids at least 3, 4 times per day, and I encourage. But that's a challenge that we have, and that's the price that I pay for being away from my family and the sacrifice that I made so as to stay and develop my country.
Has your love for your wife changed since she moved to Canada?
Not at all. Not at all. She's too
Oh,
beautiful and too
gotten
sweet.
better, perhaps, maybe.
And get bothered. Say that again.
Maybe.
They say absence make the hearts grow fonder.
There you go. There you go. Let me ask you a question. I want to talk about nationalism for a moment. When you express your joy and your devotion and your love for Guyana, i- is that nationalism? Is that explain a love of a country? Because we here in Canada, we're kind of we're brought up not to be nationalists, right? And that's how I grew. I do have a wonderful sense of this country and what it has to offer me and my son and my family. But the type of joy and the love that you're speaking of, I'm not sure that I have that. Explain that.
Okay, you know, um, Guyana, as you know, is a tropical country, and we are not subjected to very harsh weather conditions. Maybe sometimes flood because we are 7 feet below sea level. But what we do at all times, the beauty of this country and the climatic condition and the friendliness and the hospitality of the people, it makes you that's the only thing you can do is to love each other. But where you can become problematic, and that is if you get involved in politics. That's not for me. I am not good. If you get involved in the politics, I'm sure it can interfere with your heart towards the love for your country. And
Mhm,
I
mhm.
tell you what, I've been rewarded for making a contribution to my country. I've been granted one of the top awards in the country, and the Golden Arrow of Achievement. I've been granted that because of my contribution to my country, of course, in partnership with Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization, and also you guys. I would have done my part and I was granted the Takum Olam Award. Well, that's a high Jewish Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization award, right? Am
Yeah.
I in Canada?
Yeah.
So it's because of my contribution, and those very simple things, even though it is minuscule, it touches your heart and it motivates you and encourages you to do more. But the beauty of Guyana is what keeps you and the lovely people and the friendly people that you will meet. And that's what make you want to love Guyana and love the people and love this country to say.
When you say though that you love Guyana, in your head, is it the greatest country in the world, or is it the greatest country in the world for you? I'm still trying to understand
Yeah,
that type of love for a country.
in my view, it is the greatest country in the world. That's my view. I'll have no reservations for that. One, like I said, the people, very hospitable people. We have several um, religious, various religious organizations. We have various groups. We have we're a nation of six people, different people. But you know something? We all live as family together. Like yesterday in Esquibo, and I'm referring to it because it's only recent. When I
Yes.
was delivering my lecture, we had it was 90% of the students that were there were all Amerindians, that you know, first people. They were there. But you know, when you get involved with them, like one of them came to me and said, "Look, could we have your number?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Why?" They want to give their the parents. The parents, before I when I got on the ferry to get home back into Georgetown, the parent called me and she wanted to thank me, saying that the students, she had three of her children there. How wonderful it was
Mhm.
to have you coming and lecturing to their kids and to make how to what they should do in lives to be successful. So um, there's so many other values, you know. Like I can drive to the interior. I can drive I can drive to Brazil easy. I can drive to Suriname
Yes.
easy, and those are the things that add value to the country. You know, you're able to see things. You know, you're able to enjoy other different cultures and other people's lives. You know,
What's your take on the discovery of oil for Guyana? In your mind, is that a godly thing? Is that a gift from God, or is that just the way things work?
Avram, I have said this before, and I'll always say it. Anything that happened on the face of the earth with you and me, it's always a gift from God.
Mhm.
Be it good, be it bad. And you know, I always say this too, that when you get or you're granted a gift from God, and if you do not treat it, you know, with love, understanding, and appreciation, it's going to be dragged away from you. God said to you, I'm giving this to you to make you wealthy. Please take care of it. Don't dump it. Don't thief from it. You know, just nurture yourself with it and ensure that it is used in the right direction in the best interest of the people.
You know, Shabir, I think the one of the beautiful things of you, your soul, is your ability to love all people.
Yeah.
And there's a story that's told about you whereby you attended a mosque where our Jewish doctors had gone to visit in that area, or perhaps
Yeah.
in the venue itself. And there was a fellow who stood up there and started speaking negatively about the Jewish people, and you promptly told him stop. Right?
I did. Yes, because the day before, I took Dr. Mike Silverman and the entire medical team, who were all Jews, to see my priest in that same Islamic community, to look after my priest. And then I go to the mosque the next day, where, and incidentally, the same doctors went to that mosque and they treated in excess of 150 persons.
Mhm.
Muslims, non Muslims, came to that mosque and we treated them. And then he began talking negative things. I said to him, I said, look, I mean, this is not right. It is not fair. You are not God. You are not to be pronouncing on how bad Jews are. Please don't do. I mean, I'm telling you, Jews happens to be, and our Quran tells us this, our brothers and sisters, you know.
Mhm.
And as such, you ought to be careful what you're saying. And you're saying this thing in public. And he continued. I said, well, look, in that case, I'll have to depart, and I pick up my Jewish brothers and sisters. I said, look, they're not going to listen to you any longer, and we're going to leave. And we leave. And he continued. I'm not too sure what was said afterwards, but that was my view, and we left afterwards.
Do you have enemies in Guyana?
Well, today, I mean, you don't know, but I try to avoid having enemies. But you don't know who like you, who don't like you.
Mhm.
Today, in society, if you tell a man that he's doing something wrong, he feels upset and he becomes your enemy.
Mhm.
Whereas instead of him taking it, as an advice to go into the right direction, you find that person take it in the opposite way and hate you afterwards. Well, I am not concerned about that. You know what I know is that I was able to express my feelings to you. You might hate me, but you will respect me.
Do you have a cancel culture in Guyana?
What culture?
Right. I figured as much. It's called cancel culture. It's
Cancel.
here. It's here in the West, and I think you're alluding to it. Today, if you disagree with someone, they're your enemy. And that enemy may do their very best to cancel you from a position that you hold, right?
Yes, it's a culture you can't run from. I've seen it every day in my working life. As a matter of fact, I have uh, about 30 managers working with me, but I have staff below them. Each manager has about 8 to 10 persons with them. And one of my teachings to these guys, I said, look, if you see an employee is going wrong, it is your duty to call them and say, look, this is where you're falling. If not, they're going to get, sorry, they're going to get to the state where they are going to be, um, uh, you will have to fire that person. But ask yourself, what contribution have you made to improve that person? And by asking that person what the problem is,
Mm.
you're able to identify the problem or the weakness, and you're able to transform that weakness into strength. And when you do that, when you try to do that, what they have the cancel, what you call it the cancel principle. They say, okay, he tell me I'm not functioning, I don't like him. And they start canceling the relationship with him, if I'm to use it in the right perspective.
Yeah, no, you did. Let me ask you, Shabir, you seem to have this acute understanding of human behavior. Is that organic? Is that something that just grew within you as you saw life? Or were you trained on these aspects of values of life and characters of life?
Part of it is training. One, as you know, I attended the University of Western Ontario in London, where I was open to what they call a Western Executive Program. And in those cases, you have processes coming in, especially when it comes into the field of psychology. I paid a lot of attention to that. Two, my association to Verhafta was through the Lions Club in Guyana. And through Lionism, I've been exposed to training and relationship development with um, top professors throughout the world.
Mhm.
I've risen from an ordinary member in the Lions Club of West Demerara, where I came from the very poor community, and I've risen to the position of the highest head of the Caribbean, chairman of the Council of Governors. And then in my experience with dealing with people every day, all the time, I have to develop strategies as to how I should deal with people, human beings, and to get them uh, to like you. And I do lots of reading, you know, especially when it comes to management principles and all of that. So by having all those situations in my life, I'm able to practice daily and to understand human behavior. And if I don't, I try to divulge more. And then in having a religious background too, religious values teach you a lot
Mhm.
when it comes to dealing with human beings. It teaches proper human practices, human behavior practices. So my religious background and my religious teachings, nothing like one who is, if you're a non-believer in God and you're an atheist, I'm sorry to say this, you're doomed to suffer. I mean, some people might not agree with me, but I'm saying that's my view and my concept in life. Religious values have helped me to become a better human being.
Do you ever get bored or depressed?
Um, sometimes you sit, like you look around the house, you sit around and then you miss your family, but then I have to pick up the phone and call him. And then sometimes not every day is easy at work. There must be some challenging days at work, and that could make you get um, a little bit not boring, but at the same time upset you. And what you do is you have to be man enough and grown old enough to understand it, how to manage situations of that nature, and to understand
Mhm.
that as long that you're in the working environment, things are not going to be smooth all the days of your life. Things are going to be challenging many days. Some people will like what you do, some will not like what you do. And even though you might be making your best effort, that's when it becomes a more heart wrenching thing when you're making your best effort, yet people do not appreciate it. That's when you could become very boring and very upsetting.
And are you always very clear or not on your own existence, on God within your world, what you're meant to do here, who you are? Are you always very clear on that, or do you waffle on that at all?
No, I don't waffle on that at all. That you don't waffle when it comes to God's work.
Yeah.
If you waffle when it comes to God's work, you are looking for trouble. I am very clear all the time on what I should do in life.
Yes.
I'm sorry I have to go back to this all the time, but yesterday I didn't have to go to Escobar yesterday. And to get to Escobar yesterday, I usually don't use the small speedboats. I have to use the ferry. I had to get up here. I got up 1:30 a.m. in the morning,
Uh,
get set to get to the boat for 5 o'clock, and then I got there at 7 o'clock to start the day. So I didn't have to um, bother with that. I could have stayed home. If if I had gotten the culture, look, Jews are my enemy, I would not have been bonding with the Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization, and give all my love, and they give me love too. Because I tell you what, if I walk into Canada, into a hospital, I mean, this is not professional for me to say. You can edit it, but I can walk to Dr. Mike Silverman, or he come out and he said to me, Shabir, hold, I have a patient. When I'm finished with a patient, I'll deal with you right away.
yes.
I mean, and that's love. And that's when you build a relationship regardless of who you are. I'm a Muslim, he's a Jew. Look, I had to get contact the other day. I needed to. Mike is still now, as you know, Mike is now in London. So um, I had to get to meet a doctor and I do not, because I'm not there regularly. I do not have a general physician, all the time. So I have to look to get help. So I went to I don't know if you remember her name, the cardiologist, Sharon. And
Mhm.
Sharon, her son is now a doctor too. Yeah,
Yes.
and he was very helpful. I mean, and that's the kind of relationship that build and strengthen your relationship. No, Sharon didn't have to look at me. Sharon left here what so many years ago.
Yes.
Sharon, I mean, she said, "Oh, Shabir, you did so much for us in Guyana. I can't let you come here." And she called her son, you know, and right away I was looked after.
So Shabir, let's talk about those days a little bit. I'll give my viewers a context. I launched Via Hufta in 1996,
Yeah,
and our very first program was in 97, and it was a medical mission to Guyana.
yeah,
Shortly afterwards, we started working on local projects, which was assisting the homeless, going out into the streets on our vans with the native community, and then afterward on our own. But the first program was a medical mission to Guyana. And as I mentioned before, Dr. Roy Russell, God bless his soul, he worked out of Lake Ridge Health Center in Oshawa.
yeah,
And he presented this program that he and his lovely wife, also who's passed, were doing in Guyana. And basically, what they were doing was they would come down and visit maybe once or twice a year, as they would do in Haiti as well. And they would work in various different regions to help the locals. Over the local radio, they would invite people to come out to their clinics. And what was very cool about Roy was, and he would say it in his, you remember that voice that he used to have?
yeah,
He used to talk
yeah,
that
yeah,
gravelly voice, right? How are you, Avrum?
yeah, yeah,
Michael always, Michael, it was
yeah,
really like a father to Michael.
yeah.
And they would take stuff from Lake Ridge Health Center that wasn't being used, medical equipment, and they would bring it down to Guyana. Anyways, Michael learned about this from Roy. He brought it to me. And ultimately, what we did at Via Hafta was we formalized the trip, and it became a very sophisticated medical mission that went down 2 or 3 times a year. I think by the time we wrapped up our international department, we had done 30 or in excess of that medical mission. So
Yeah.
that's my perspective on it, how I saw it. When we first came down there, Shabir, to you, was it a bunch of Canadian doctors? Was it Jewish Canadian doctors? What was your take on this awkward team that we had thrown together?
Well, a matter of fact, if you recall, it wasn't only doctors. We had dentists, we had
Yeah.
eye care. It was a
Yes.
wide spectrum of medical personnel. And I said, well, okay, how do I deal with this situation? And but then, when you have people like Roy, who was a household name in Guyana before his last trip,
Yes.
um, and Mike, the strategy that they developed, it made it easy for me. My most difficult task was to find the Lions Club in the various areas and the community leaders to say, look, we have to support this program. You have to find accommodation. We have to ensure meals are available every day. And those were the challenging things. But um, the these guys, the medical team came prepared for those kinds of challenges. They have tin stuff and things like that. So all we had to do was to provide the logistics and ensure everything went well. But I must say that my company, Bank Stays Limited, was very supportive of this program, and they helped a lot in ensuring that things go well, and to provide whatever necessary help they could have helped. They could have given, for that matter. And all the programs were very successful, and it was admired by the Ministry of Health. Yeah, all the ministers who came in then and read about this situation understood that it is only to the benefit of the people. How would you get a man from Canada leaving his home with such beautiful amenities and jump into a balloon, right? Balloon, a boat that could sink at any time, and paddle to get to a medical center. I mean, those things, you can't get people doing that. Even to a Guyanese sometimes finding it difficult. So how could you get, as my guys, my Lions Club, and say, by these white men and fear nothing, they're jumping in that boat and we go in. But you know what? Their objective was to help those less fortunate people. There are cases where people, if I tell you of some of the experiences we would have had, there are people who never saw a doctor before,
Yes.
never had a medical. There were cases where um, babies were identified with serious issues, and to the extent, I'll never forget the one in Bartica. Bartica, guy from the Lions Club, his son, Skip, Bartica, I can call his name. Skip's son went, and we took him to Canada, had a major heart problem, and the problem was solved through Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization. And he was supported by Leah, who is very, 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 very strong. And they stayed at my sister's home. At that time, I wasn't living there. My sister took the child and his mother, and we kept them there. My sister kept them there while the hospital did the treatment and did all the surgeries and everything. So that's only outlining a few. The story is so much to tell, so much to tell.
The person you're speaking about is Leah Aronson, who is
Leah Aronson. Oh, yeah,
Leah
a
Aronson, who's a
fantastic woman.
nurse.
Yeah.
And there's another person who comes to mind when I think of Leah as Dr. Skolnick.
Oh,
These are
Dr. Mike Skolnick. Yeah.
it's two religious Jews who came to Guyana, and one of the issues, obviously, that they had to deal with was keeping kosher there.
Yeah.
So you remember, Shabir, our teams would lug suitcases, 30, 40, 50 suitcases full of pharmaceuticals that we had donated from Nova Farm and Apotex and other such, pharmaceutical companies. These were really like warriors, people who were prepared to take on an extremely difficult environment, as you said, taking a speedboat down the many rivers that one would find in Guyana to end up in a village where they could help people. But I remember some of the pharmaceuticals that we used to take. In fact, I was reading up on it today. There is a tropical disease called river blindness. And
Yeah.
I know that Michael put that on the list of pharmaceuticals that we had to take down in order to help individuals who had that ailment. Malaria is
Yeah.
rife. Is it
Very
still
big.
rife in Guyana? Is there a lot of it still?
Um, no, there has been a lot of improvement in that area where I wouldn't say malaria is still there. River blindness will still be there, but it is not so pronounced. I mean, yes, there was a major contribution from the Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization for working towards wiping it out. It is still there, but not fully um, wiped out.
I remember two of our administrators. One is Rachel Lasry. You'll remember Rachel. She's
Yes,
in
I remember
Israel. She
Rachel.
lives in Israel. And the
Yeah,
other is Sarah Zeltzer. Two just brilliant, brilliant professionals. And they
yeah,
worked arduously together with you and together with your team to make sure these medical missions would happen. And I remember they telling stories about mothers who would walk for miles and miles and miles to
yeah.
come to our makeshift clinics with one baby on one hip and another baby on another hip, and all of this to get some medical care that they would not have gotten otherwise. Wonderful stories.
Yeah, man, it's wonderful. Sarah can tell you a lot of those in truth. And Rachel. Also, Rachel is now in Israel. Eh?
Yeah, she lives in Israel.
I tell you, I mean, I when I was there in just before Christmas in Canada, there were 5 young ladies from university who came through Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization, and they managed to get up with me back, and it was like a family reunion with
Yeah,
these people, and
yeah,
they start talking about the hilarious stories that you would have had, you know.
yes.
That was a great event, really, meeting with these girls. These girls came home to me in Canada. So I mean, it's really, really fantastic having memories of those days. It's really, really great.
You remember Becky Weinberg?
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Becky's a midwife now. She lives north of Winnipeg in Kenora. But I remember Becky telling a story. We had a satellite phone, and the satellite phone we would often use to phone Sick Kids Hospital
Yeah,
when we had an extremely difficult situation where we needed their input. And the problem was she would go up on a hill, Shabir, and clouds would be passing over, and the satellite phone just didn't work, right? So we
yeah,
had we had to deal with all, I guess, what we would call third world country challenges. But
yeah.
at the end of the day, oh man, the work that we did together was magnificent. Do you remember our vitamin A program?
Oh, yes, I remember that very well, you know. I want to go back to Becky. Man. Do you know Becky, because of our close relationship, she tells everyone, I'm her second dad.
Is that what she
Yes.
says?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she called me dad whenever she comes to Guyana. You
That's
come
the
to see my dad.
relationship, right? That's
Yeah,
the
yes,
relationship. I
yeah,
just want to touch on the vitamin A. Vitamin A is a really serious thing if you don't have it.
yes.
And it can cause blindness in a child, or it can even take their life. So what we did was we went to a private Jewish school here, and we had them come to school with vitamin A or multivitamins from the Flintstones and things like this, and to
Yeah,
package it up and then to take it down to Guyana. And once we were there through Michael Silverman and his staff, and together with you and the Lions Club, we were able to distribute vitamin A. The beauty of vitamin A is that if you take a small amount, that it can last you a year. And that was an important thing because some people were critical of our trips because they would say, well, yeah, this is great. You're going down there to help people. But as soon as you leave, the same problems are going to happen again, right?
no, one of the things we must mention that um, there were arrangements in place for follow-up programs
Yes.
with those changes. Yes, because I remember we'll have the Ministry of Health follow up the treatment process program, or if not, your guys were such good guys that they were ensuring that they were sending these pharmaceuticals directly to these patients at their homes, those who were really in need and couldn't afford it. So there was a follow-up program. Was indeed one of the complaints is that these guys are coming in and doing a one-shot treatment. No, it is not one shot. It was done, and then they were always follow-up treatment.
I think the phenomenal thing about the schedule that Michael Silverman created together with Sarah and with Rachel, together with yourself and the Lions Club, included such things as trips to the local prison.
Yes, that was a very nice one where they found a lot of very serious disease,
Yeah.
yeah, STDs and all of that, and they started the treatment program, and I think they reported their findings to the Ministry of Health in Guyana, and the Ministry of Health in Guyana was able to tackle a lot of problems in those areas. And I think at this stage they're having prevention methods now at these prisons.
Where is Guyana at today in terms of its health ministry and the distribution of more medical assistance?
Oh, if I'm to rate them from a 1 to 10, they're 9.
Yeah.
Guyana is really doing well. Yes, yeah. There has been a fantastic change from what when we were doing these medical programs. When we started medical programs, pharmaceuticals are not available in these hospitals. Yeah, or if you had, you must have money before you can go to a pharmacy to buy. But in our day, um, if you didn't take it there, you didn't get it. But things have changed tremendously now. Government spend millions of dollars in trying to, well, it goes to tender, and then whoever wins it, able to supply the pharmaceuticals that is required in every area. But as you know, the key pharmaceuticals that are required in Guyana is because diabetes and hypertension. Yeah,
Yes.
those are the key simple main diseases.
And I'm assuming that as nutrition causes a lot of problems in terms of those two conditions, is the nutrition better in Guyana than it was?
Yeah, nutrition is better in Guyana, and there is also what you have the medical program that they have in Guyana now. Of course, they try to teach people good lifestyles, good habits, and they
Mhm.
have television programs that are running because many of the issues that Guyanese suffer because of medical issues that they have is because of the situation where not having knowledge of the right type of food to eat, not exercising, and don't understand the benefits of exercise, don't understand the benefits of drinking water, basic water, you know, and those very basic things would have been able to transform the lives of very many people. But must say that the pharmaceutical support is certainly very splendid in Guyana.
You must feel so positive about the changes, eh?
Well, I'm able to live it and see it and witness it, and
Yes.
that's why it's very. I'm seeing it in front of my eyes. The changes. I mean, when you came, you would like to see what Guyana is like now in terms of the infrastructure development, number of roads, in terms of you come and see what is taking place in the buildings, the business community. Of course, there are issues. Any country there are issues, there are challenges. Um, but I don't know if because of my love for Guyana, I'm saying it's now the best country in the world. But of course, there are challenges. I would not, you know, say that there are not any challenges or things are all rosy. You have challenges, and I must say that um, the president I know of this country now, um, Dr. Mohammed Irfan Ali, he is really making an effort to ensure that people are given a better life in Guyana.
Shabir, do you sing at all?
I used to. I played musical instruments, but
What did you
I
play? What did you play?
I played the harmonium. I
Oh,
played the mouth organ.
oh, yeah, me too. I play the organ as well.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
me ask you something. I've been asking my guests when we're finishing up to sing a hopeful song. Maybe it's a Muslim song. Maybe it's a song from your community. Can you sing us a short
You're gonna
song?
you're gonna embarrass me. Go
No, 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 no. We don't care what your voice sounds like. It's just such a lovely thing to hear.
on. Oh, I don't know what to choose now. You caught me below my belt there, Avram.
What about a poem or something of significance that way?
When you caught like this, it's difficult to find something right away.
All right. All right. We'll have to do another interview, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Shabir, I want to thank you so much for speaking with me today. It's been lovely, just lovely.
Yeah. Well, Avram, it is lovely having this interview with you too. I'm certain that you will share with me a copy of it
I
so
will.
I can circulate it to my family. Um, really lovely seeing you, brother. You look very well, I must say. And
Thank you.
let me, on behalf of the Guyanese community, thank yourself, the late Dr. Roy Rosell, Michael Silverman, and all the members of the Canadian Jewish Humanitarian Organization who would have made significant contribution to Guyana. And in the times when Guyana really needed help, you guys turned to Guyana and gave the help. And you didn't look who were Jews, who were Muslims, who were Hindus, who were Christians.
Thank you.
You were very broad in making sure that your program reached the lives of everybody else. So
Shabir, there are many people out there. Thank you for those kind words. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to us, especially nowadays because of so much anti-Semitism. Is there
yeah,
anti-Semitism in Guyana?
they have, I mean, but sometimes whenever it raises its ugly head, people try to keep it down. And I'm a person, Avram, I try to keep away from those kinds of behaviors, and um, I try not to get involved anywhere there. When I see those things, it upsets me, so I keep far from it.
And do you have thoughts or feelings about what happened in Israel on October 7th and afterward?
Well, I have thoughts in it. I believe the Hamas did make a big blunder in going there, and I don't believe they ever realized that, okay, this will be the result of their actions. And my only negative thoughts on this now is it is really, really sad to know that because of their actions, you're losing so many innocent lives and kids are suffering.
Mhm.
That's a real heart-wrenching thing. And that's my thought on it. I mean, yes, of course, it started with the Hamas attacking Israel and taking uh, persons there to hostages. And that has really, I don't believe anybody in this world realized that it would have turned out to be such a disastrous situation. I myself, I'm very concerned and I'm very worried and I'm hoping and praying that by God's grace that it's going to be ended very soon, and so that people could stop suffering. The suffering is overbearing on the people
Yes.
that we're seeing there, in Palestine. Really, really overbearing.
Do you
But
ever
I'm
meet?
sure this settlement, if they can able come to an agreement, must come to an agreement. The Palestinians and the Jews must come to a settlement as quickly as possible and say, oh, look, hey, and I believe in separation. Leave the Palestinians alone, leave the Israelis alone.
Mhm.
I mean, and that, if you have that, certainly everybody's going to go about their business in normal.
Mhm.
There are some mischievous people who are going to continue trying to turn bad things, or good things into bad. So that's my comment on it, Avram. Thanks for asking me that.
No, you're welcome. Do you have any sense of why the Jewish people are hated so much?
Well, I don't know. I mean, as you know, I love you guys. I
Yes.
gave my heart and soul to you guys.
Yes, he did.
I can't understand why. I mean, I have such wonderful people in you guys. All I see is just love and love and love. I have never seen a Jew that I have cross path with, treat me like some outcast.
Mhm.
I've always been treated with kind. I have just outlined to you a few of the situation. No, Dr. Roy Rosell was not a Jew.
Yeah.
His daughter has just married a Jew, Mike. You
Mhm.
know, and they're one. He's a wonderful guy. So I don't understand why people want to have this thing. And I have not been hearing that in Guyana. That people hate Jews. I don't have that at all. I don't hear that
Okay. That's
in
good.
Guyana. Yeah.
In conclusion, there are people who will be watching the show
Yeah.
who are trying to find their place in life. We all know people like that, Shabir, who are trying to find their zone. What message can you give those people about finding themselves, about doing something in life which is meaningful and purposeful?
You know, what I would like to say to people, we have to stop thinking about ourselves only and understand that there are people that are out there that are suffering. Some that are suffering publicly, some that are suffering privately, some that are ashamed to say, look, I'm suffering. And as such, you do not know. I like to urge people to get out there. And there are organizations, or you can, as an individual, give help. Some people don't like to get into organizations. If you don't want to get into an organization, then try, go out in your village and find out, go out in your town and find out. Is there anyone? And if you can touch the life of one person and you can make a difference in the life of one person, you would have done a part of God's work. And that's what God puts us on this earth for. So it's to help our fellow man. And in Islam, we say, have tolerance. Like give love to each other. Show care, show understanding. Show that the human race, regardless of what religion, what color, whatever it is, go out there and give them your love. Some people only need love. They don't need money. They need somebody to talk to. And I have experienced those things, you know. Hence, I call on each and every one of you who are listening or viewing this program. Make an effort to really give of yourself and your life to the less fortunate and those who are in need.
Do you love yourself, Shabir?
I do love myself, and that's why I take care of myself, Avrum.
Yeah, good for you.
And I always believe that to love yourself, you must first love God, because, like I said, and I always repeat this: whatever happens in this life, it is through through God Almighty.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, if you love God, obviously you must love yourself first.
Shabir, thank you so much. I have regards for you from all the individuals who came down to Guyana, who know about Guyana, who know about you, and we send you our love as well.
Thank you very much, and please give my regards to all.
I will do that. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Avrum Rosensweig Show, and we look forward to being with you once again. It's kind of a Hafta month on the show because next week I'll be interviewing Dr. Paul Thistle. And Paul Thistle was our contact, like Shabir was in Guyana. Paul was our contact in Zimbabwe. And we're going to hear an awful lot from him about our trips, our medical missions there, and our accomplishments in Africa. We look forward to being with you again. And until then, God bless. Take good care of yourself and emulate this man, Shabir. Listen to what he has to say very carefully and make your life better through his life. Thank you, Shabir.
Thank you so much, Avram.
All right. Take care.
God bless.